Good morning and welcome to Three Questions with. Got my buddy Marc Gaudette with us. Marc is a financial service professional. Marc, good morning and welcome to the show.
Kevin, good morning. Thanks for the opportunity. Good to see you.
Good to see you, my friend. So, Marc, I asked you to come on and talk a bit about Medicare today because you see the commercials, you see all these ads, and it just, I don't know, Marc, it just feels overwhelming to me. Do you see the people just kind of get frustrated and they don't know what to do?
Absolutely. The overwhelming part of it is that there's way too much information on the internet. And I'll give you an example is that just this past week, ironically, a person here in Massachusetts called me and asked me for help. And then my sister-in-law back up in Nashua, they both said the same thing. They're reading something somewhere where they're under the impression that at age 62, you have to file for your Medicare. And you can file for Social Security, but you cannot file for Medicare until you're 65. So so when you turn 65 or you get ready to turn 65, you have 3 months before your 65th birthday to start thinking about what your options are going to be in the month of your birthday, and then you have the month of your birthday and 3 months after that.
Yeah.
So when you turn 65 on your 65th birthday, you're going to get your Medicare card. And it's going to show your Part A inception date, which is that first month of the first of the month of your birthday. But there's one caveat to that is that if you're going to stay in an employer plan, you don't need to sign up for Medicare Part B until you leave that employer plan. And when you leave that employer plan, doesn't matter if it's 3 months later or 3 years later, as long as you're working in an employer plan that has its blessings from the Social Security system, in other words, what they call creditable coverage, especially for Medicare drugs, then you don't have to sign up for Part B. If you fail to sign up for Part B after you're first eligible and you're not covered under an employer plan, once you go past your enrollment period for Part B, you start getting assessed a penalty on your Part B premium, which I forget what the Part B premium is. I want to say it's like $220 a month.
Yeah.
So that's the long and short. But going back to your original question, it's very overwhelming because people do the first thing they do is they pick up their phone, they Google something, and then they pick up these articles. And some of the articles that I've read on different aspects of financial services, financial planning, Medicare, Social Security, I've read through some of them and I would go, this person, whoever wrote this article, just chucked a bunch of stuff together and just threw it up there because they were under some sort of deadline and all the information is misleading or erroneous. So yeah, it is. It's overwhelming.
So, Marc, when I think about the drug plan, unfortunately, some people think of today, knock on wood, I'm doing okay, Marc. I don't have to take any prescription drugs. So I may look at that and go, it's not a big priority to me, Marc. Then I meet people that unfortunately something happens to them, and all of a sudden they're like, have them spending $500 a month on drugs. So you got to kind of plan ahead for not today, but the future, right?
Yeah. So the world of prescription drugs in the Medicare context is a lot different than being under an individual plan or an employer plan. Different insofar as that every year, agents that are in the Medicare business have to recertify, and because there's changes every year. There's changes in legislation, there's changes in rules, regulations, but more importantly, all the insurance companies and the prescription drug plans that you must buy have changes in what they call their formularies. So for example, this year in 2023, there's a lot of prescription drugs in certain types of Medicare plans that have been moved to a more advantageous tier in terms of their costs. So your costs can change from year to year. And that's why, from the period of October 15th to December 7th, it's such a critical time to meet with a qualified professional and not take your advice from AARP. And I'm not knocking AARP, but there's a lot of other ones too. Talk to a qualified professional because every professional that has any amount of time has to recertify every year. It's actually, it's just like you roll your eyes, it goes that time of year to take the recertification. Because what happens is that your formularies change. And right now we're in open enrollment, and this is the only time where you can either switch in and out of a Medicare Advantage plan or a prescription drug plan. And then after December 7th, that's pretty much it. And then January 1st starts, people who are in Medicare Advantage plans can move around from one plan to the other because they have the open enrollment till March 31st.
So like you said, I think that's a mistake a lot of us make is we ask our buddy, hey, I was having lunch with a guy and he told me this is what he did. And he seems like a bright guy, so I did what he did. Not always the best case because everyone's different, right?
Everyone's different because if you're talking to somebody, you have a friend, a buddy that's using insulin, for example, and he talks about, extols the virtues of his plan. Let's say he's got a Medicare Advantage plan, which is just all the parts of Medicare lumped together, sent over to a private insurance company. If that person is using insulin because he's diabetic, of course, he's in a specific plan that has an insulin savings component attached to it. So the other guy across the table says, "Oh, that sounds really good. Maybe I want to do that," irrespective of the insulin. He goes in, then he finds stuff that he's taking is not covered as favorably as his buddy across the table, and he doesn't wonder why. It's not linear. It's not black and white. It's very gray in most cases.
So Mark, if people have questions, how do they reach out to you? Do you know, because again, this is a super complicated area for most people. So you can sit down with them and help. How should they reach out to you?
Oh, you can reach me at my my cell phone's always on pretty much, except for interviews with Kevin. Don't want you to any disturbances there, but 603-566-0681.
Awesome. And a website or anything you want to give up?
Yeah, I have a website. It's www.omgfinsbcs.com.
Awesome. Mark, I appreciate you taking a couple minutes to come on the show. And as always, thanks for being my friend.
All right, Kevin, happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you, my friend.